Hi everyone, today let's talk about Palantir earnings, then we'll go over Max Payne, then we'll go over the charts, then we'll take a look at my results and my thoughts going into tomorrow's session. Don't forget to check out the Patreon and the Twitter linked in the description. If you like trading stocks and options and making money, definitely like and subscribe. I make videos like this every single day that the markets are open as well as Sundays, so make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Welcome to the Portfolio Bulletin. Let's get started. So Palantir beat on earnings and predicted their first full year of profitability. And as a result of that, the stock was up as much as 28% at one point on the day. Revenue for first quarter grew 18% on a year-over-year basis, and U.S. commercial revenue grew 26%. They reported 5 cents per share versus 4 cents and 525 million compared to 506 million expected. So they're really starting to deliver on their promises. This company has actually been around a very long time. They've just been in the news really starting with COVID. They were kind of a meme stock for a while, and now they're actually starting to report good earnings and project forward guidance that is actually beneficial to investors. So the stock is starting to reflect that a little bit more here recently. Also, like any good tech company, they mentioned AI and that their AI commercial platform is without precedent. Obviously, lots of buzzwords around AI, and that kind of gets investors pretty excited right now, so it makes sense that they would start incorporating that into their earnings calls. But they are working an AI platform, and it is part of their business. Looking at Max Payne here, this put-call ratio continues to go down. It's at 1.55 now, some of the lowest I've seen here for an end of week. Amount of options starting to go up a little bit. We started around 700,000. Now we're getting up to that 900, almost to a million here for the Friday close. But look at this spike on the 400 strike. So bunch of puts, bunch of calls here at 400 on the SPY. Max Payne is still 408, which makes sense right in this trough. We have calls and puts, and then lots of calls and puts to the upside as well. Surprising amount of calls up at 416 and 422. 416 is probably your upper limit here on the SPY. And then zooming out, we can't forget that we have these huge amount of puts down here at 335 and 340. I don't know who's trading those, but those are going to be out of the money, most likely. So keeping an eye on 408, really between 410 and 416 makes the most sense to me. Moving over to the charts, starting with the SPY on the hour and the 12-hour. You can see the SPY went straight sideways. Ridiculous. The lows were down around 412. The highs were up around 413.21. So just about 1 point of variance top to bottom. And in my opinion, this is probably a top or a turning day, just like we saw down here. Bottomed, went sideways, had a reversal. And to me, that's kind of what this looks like. Rally, pause, potential reversal. Momentum on the hourly is looking bearish. RSI is definitely looking bearish as well. Momentum still bullish on the 12-hour. You can see the dojis here, area of highest volume. It's not impossible that we see a push up to 414.69, but in my opinion, this looks like a potential reversal. Don't forget we have CPI on Wednesday, so this could absolutely go sideways into the CPI report. That's going to be a big one. So we could see a reduced volume until we get to that point. And looking at the daily volume here, you can see it has declined pretty substantially from the previous 4 trading days. Moving over to the SPY on the 3-minute and the 1-hour, I just wanted to go over this a little bit tighter because I got stopped out and I was kind of upset about it. So we had a bottom and then we had a slightly higher low, and I started to enter on this rally thinking that we were going to get the follow through here. And then we got that big push, took out those wicks on this point, which definitely stopped me out here. And then I didn't re-enter like I should. In this zone, we got above VWAP. And then once we were above VWAP here, then that was pretty much a run on the day. It's worth noting we got this big down spike from 323.66 all the way down to 322.18. That definitely took out some of my positions as well, which was a little bit upsetting because we rallied super aggressively after that, hitting all the way up to 324. And then we sold off here into the after hours, which is interesting, down to 323.23, sitting just above this major trend line on the hourly chart. We're still above everything on the hour as well, 921, VWAP, all still looking bullish. But similar to the SPY, we have bearish momentum and bearish RSI. Moving over to the Russell and the Dow, you can see we had this lower low setup with higher RSI, higher divergence. We got that rally on Friday. And then we basically went sideways here. We wicked the 55 EMA, talked about that being a potential. Hit the 21 EMA here to the downside. We're just above this trend line, really holding in the middle of the range, looking for 176 if we can get above 174.38. If we break down from here, looking at 171.50 or 170.35, Dow, similar thesis on this trend line. We can get above it, looking 339.11. We get below my 335.91 level, then I'm looking down to the 200 SMA at 333.49 or 332.44 based on a potential rejection from this trend line. Moving over to Apple and Tesla. Apple, big nothing day, went straight sideways just like the SPY. Tesla, on the other hand, did get a little bit of a continuation, got all the way up to 174.37, didn't hit the 55 EMA, and it didn't hit my 177.70 level. Does certainly seem like that could still happen. Might slow down here a little bit. You can see that MACD building bullish momentum, and it still does look bullish here. Moving over to Snowflake and PLTR, you can see Snowflake getting a good rally on the day. It's been looking bullish. We talked about this before. It took out this previous high. It's sitting right on it now. Looks like a back test potentially. Looking to push back into these previous highs up around 175. That would definitely be interesting. We're also looking for a gap fill up to around 164.35. PLTR, you can see that huge day, had a super bullish candle, looking to take out these previous highs up around $10.25. Just barely missed the $10 on the wick, but based on their earnings, you would expect that this is going to have some follow through, in my opinion. Moving over to Staples and consumer discretionary, you can see Staples continues to fail in this zone. We're now consolidating here just below my resistance. I would expect that this is going to roll over at some point. We're just kind of waiting for these EMAs to level out, kind of consolidate them, and then we'll start to roll over here. That's what I'm looking for, down to area of highest volume, 175.57, and then 175.40, back down in this zone, basically on top of the 55 EMA here on the 12-hour chart. Looking at discretionary, continues to hold in my supply zone. This has been consolidating for a long time now, and it continues to do so. Moving over to transports here, does kind of look like we might have a double top on the hourly chart. Definitely interesting, starting to roll over on momentum. RSI is already below the SMA, looking to get below these trend lines. We're kind of at an inflection point here on the hourly chart. If this continues to roll over, that would be pretty bearish. Looking at the daily chart, looks a little bit different. We did make a higher high, but we ended up closing lower than the close on Friday. So that looks a little bit more bearish going into the close. Momentum is still bullish, and RSI on the daily chart is still bullish, but volume is definitely way down. Volume is down pretty much across the board here, but it does look bad on transports also. Overall, candle of indecision, kind of looks like a double top, might be looking to roll over. And there's quite a bit of room for that to happen over the next few days, especially if CPI comes in a little bit hot. Moving over to semiconductors on the hourly and the daily, we talked about this being a low, higher low setup, and we're waiting to see if this takes out this previous high, and then we start to uptrend from here, which would give you that higher high setup, and then we would be clearly in an uptrend, at least in the short term. Does seem to be fading a little bit in terms of momentum at this level, but it certainly could go a little bit higher. Daily momentum turning bullish, RSI looking quite good. My next price target is up around 125.73, and then if that breaks, we have the trend line 126.75 and then 128.63 above that. Moving over to stocks above their 50 and 200-day averages here, you can see we're continuing to consolidate in this area. We're still below the trend line, but we're right on top of the 200 SMA here for the 50 average. On the 200 average, we've also consolidated. We've had 3 up days in a row, which is interesting, but we're right at the 9 EMA. There's still potential that this could roll over, but right now we're still consolidating sideways. Moving over to the dollar here on the hour and the daily, you can see we had this low going back to 3 May, and then we had the low here today in the early morning hours. You can see clear divergence, lower RSI, higher RSI, but same prices. And then we ended up getting a little bit of a rally back above the 101.25 level. Definitely interesting here. My guess is that this will consolidate into the CPI read, and then it's going to react to that. So I would expect at least one more day of sideways price action before we get some clear direction on the dollar. Moving over to junk and TLT. Junk had a sideways day, big long leg doji, hit VWAP and the 9 EMA, rejected back down to this mid zone, tested the 200 SMA, got back into the mid zone, Certainly could go either way at this point. Does look a little bit weaker based on this pattern that we're seeing coming off of this resistance area. We also broke this uptrend line that I was watching, so certainly could go lower, but we haven't gone anywhere quite yet. Moving over to TLT, big red day on that first candle, got below my 103.70 level. Looks like we retested that and we might move lower here. Definitely interesting. Momentum bearish, RSI bearish. This makes sense. Yields went up a little bit here today, which makes TLT go down at least a little bit here in the short term. You can see we're well below all the EMAs and SMAs on the 12-hour chart, so it does look a little bit more bearish here than it has recently. Moving over to the VIX, we gapped up, we fell throughout the day, retesting this trend line here. We got below it a little bit, might break down further, but we're really right in this zone. And you can see that here on the daily chart, got to this level, held this level. We'll see what happens now. But we are very little changed from the Friday session. Moving over to my accounts, you can see it says I was green on the day, but I think I ended up losing about $40. I got squeezed like I talked about on the NASDAQ chart. Ultimately, my positions would have been very good had I just left them alone. But some days when you get stopped out, the price of shares are going to continue lower and you will have saved yourself money. And sometimes you get stopped out just for the stock to continue in your direction. Just works out that way. Otherwise, looking at my positions going into tomorrow's session, you can see I am slightly bullish. I had a covered call, which is going to get executed here at 323. So that'll work out great. Get rid of these shares. That'll be good. I have 4 puts here at 320 and 321, and then 1 call here at 327 for the 10th. That may or may not be a good position. I might take it off tomorrow depending on what we see. I don't know if I want to hold shares into the CPI report. So we'll see how that plays out. And then right now I don't have any positions on my IRA. Overall, neutral to bullish. Let me know down in the comments section what you think of PLTR. Are they a stock worth watching going into the future? Or is this just some short-term hype over their earnings? Definitely like and subscribe if you got any value out of this video, and make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Of course, none of this is financial advice. This is all for entertainment purposes. Good luck in your trading and have a great day.